first quarterback off the board was Kenny Pickett. I predicted that to happen. I mean, a lot of people thought that the Steelers were going to go after Malik. Malik fell all the way to the third round. A lot of people were surprised. Tennessee drafts him. You heard what obviously Tannehill said at his press conference. Really, I guess throwing Malik under the bus. I have no idea what Tannehill. You're a veteran quarterback. You would expect a veteran quarterback saying, hopefully he learns a little bit from me. I'd like to help him grow as a quarterback. That's what most veteran quarterbacks would say. But he got very personal about it, and you could see we're fighting for the same spot. Whatever. What were your thoughts about the quarterbacks and where they fell? Were you surprised Tannehill took a shot at Malik? And do you think the Steelers got it right with Kenny Pickett?
Yeah, I'll start with the Tannehill thing. Yeah, it makes no sense why he'd say that. Like, I've heard a lot of stories of quarterbacks who, like, just aren't good dudes and don't want to help the guys who are younger. And that's totally fine, but you don't got to say it. Like, no one, like, Malik's not going to go to the press in, like, 3 months and be like, yeah, Tannehill said he was going to help me and he didn't. So I don't he's not going to say anything. I don't know why he felt the need to say anything that
because he's a punk, and I hope he loses his job. He's a punk. That's it.
Yeah, no, I didn't think it was
because Malik didn't say it. They asked Malik, what did he think what Tannehill said, and he said, listen, he's got his own opinions towards what he wants. I respect him, and I hope to learn something that I see when he's practicing on the field. Malik was being very professional about it. This SOB, he's complaining and bitching, dude. Play your game. You've been on this team for 2 years. You couldn't get this team over the hump. As talented it was, you had A.J. Brown and Julio Jones and all the weapons you had last year. Maybe not the whole season. You still failed. And you had Derrick Henry, arguably the best back in all of football. Don't bitch and moan because they went after a quarterback because you couldn't do it. So that's what I would have said to him if I was the press guy sitting around right there. Stop bitching and moaning about a quarterback. It wasn't his fault he was drafted. It wasn't his fault.
Nah, I don't get it. It was dumb. Unfortunately, I don't think Willis is taking his job. I mean, Tannehill didn't make the playoffs last year. And
I do.
Was a third-round pick.
I think he's going to take his job.
I mean, it's more exciting. I mean, Tannehill's not a really fun player, but, go back to, the quarterback class. I wasn't a fan of Malik Willis at all. This past summer with Spencer Rattler, Sam Howell were the top two. Everyone else was a project. Desmond Ridder, Carson Strong, Kenny Pickett wasn't even on the radar. Malik Willis project as well. So you had Strong, Willis, and Ridder as these projects, and you had Howell, Rattler, falls off a cliff, gets benched.
Good, he belongs off a cliff. I hate him. I can't wait until he gets drafted next year and he fails in the NFL. Him and his bragging family. I watched him in that stupid show, and you want to know something? He's pathetic. And you know what? He could say whatever he wants. He can go to South Carolina. He can go to North Carolina. He can go to Alabama. He'll still fail in the NFL because a punk like that don't belong in the NFL.
So Rattler gets benched. He's off the grid. Howell plays worse because his weapons aren't that good, and he's just not super talented. He's really solid in terms of accuracy, but holds on to the ball too long. Rushed for a lot of yards, but isn't really that athletic and just isn't anything special. Strong was terrible. Ridder improved a lot. He probably improved more than anyone. And then Willis, I thought, took a step back. I had Willis I had him as a second-round grade going into the season, a high 2, actually. Then I had a third-round grade on him where he was drafted after the season. And then Kenny Pickett shot up and was considered the top quarterback. So it was like a Pickett. Then you had Matt Corral as well, who I didn't mention, but he kind of, he progressed a little bit. Then you had Ridder, Strong, Howell kind of grouped together, and Willis was the 6th. Senior Bowl comes, and all of a sudden, Malik Willis jumps to like 1 or 2 because he had a solid day in the rain. Like, you didn't watch his games against Louisiana Monroe and Middle Tennessee State where he had 3 interceptions in both of them. Ole Miss, you had him against Corral, and yes, Ole Miss, Power 5 defense going up against Willis. He can't read a field. And the thing that worried me the most was what you had to be able to do, which for your Jets fans, Zach Wilson struggled with last year, is see a guy open even if he's not open. Malik Willis could not do that. The guy had to be wide open for him. He couldn't throw anyone open. He wasn't confident enough to throw the ball unless someone was open. And he just didn't do a great job of reading a defense, which a lot of quarterbacks struggle with, and which is why a lot of them aren't first-round picks, and he does not act natural accuracy-wise. He's not the runner of Lamar Jackson. he couldn't beat out Bo Nix at Auburn, transfers to Liberty. Like if I put Matt Corral on Liberty's team, is he throwing for 100 touchdowns and 0 intercept? Like, how does this work? You put Sam Howell on Liberty, the good team he played this season, he wasn't that great against. He was actually horrible. And then people just, because he looked good in shorts and a t-shirt, and he wasn't even that good, they just shot him up to the first round. He ended up like reaching as high as second overall to the Lions in some mock drafts. I always had a third round grade on him. Like,
By the way, I think Desmond Ridder is going to be the best quarterback in this draft class. I called it.
I'm not going to say you're crazy for that. I had a third round grade on Ridder over the summer. Stuck with a third round grade on him.
I think he's going to be a star quarterback. A little bit behind Mariota for maybe a year or two. He's going to take over with that Atlanta team with that strength, and they want this like move. This mobile quarterback. Ridder fits and I think he's more accurate than Lamar Jackson. So I think he's gonna be a good quarterback in this league. I really do.
He checks all the boxes of a successful quarterback. He's tall enough. He's a winner in college. He's super mature. He has the experience. He has enough arm strength. He has enough mobility. The main concern is he doesn't have the natural accuracy. But, I didn't think Dak Prescott did.
Either did Lamar. And look what Lamar has done. So,
no, I'm not going to sit there and say he won't be the best, but won't be or will be the best. He checks a lot of boxes that, seem to be successful in the league. To me, Kenny Pickett I thought he was great value at 20. I think he's a really good quarterback. I think he's super accurate, all levels of the field. I think, if you look at, 10-yard split for a quarterback, that's first 10 yards you're running, which for the most part, unless you are an exceptional runner, that's all you're going to be running for. He was, I think, 0.02 slower than Ridder and the second fastest 10-yard split in the entire class. I think winner experience, same things that Ridder had. I just think he's more accurate. And I thought he was great within the pocket, great outside the pocket. I think some of the question marks you have with him are decision-making at times. He threw some wild passes that I didn't think were awesome. He doesn't have elite level tools, but I think he's got that moxie. He's got everything you want in a quarterback, and he stays in Pittsburgh. So there's going to be no adjustment to the city and the life that comes with being a franchise quarterback. I think he can handle it. He's got Najee Harris. He's got 4 or 5 good receivers at this point. Pat Freiermuth at tight end. A good enough offensive line for what the kind of player he is. He's similar to Joe Burrow in the regard that Joe Burrow didn't have a good offensive line in college, didn't have one in the NFL. I think both of them can succeed because of their play styles with lesser groups. And he's got a really solid defense outside of the cornerback group. So to me, I think that Kenny Pickett was a home run pick if you can get a franchise quarterback at 20. I thought he was, I had him graded higher than Mac Jones, and Mac Jones was successful as a rookie. I think he's going to be a really solid starter. And I thought that was a great pick at 20. If he doesn't hit, he wasted the 20th pick on it. It's not like they traded 3 first-round picks like the 49ers did a year before. They sat there at 20, waited, and they took a guy who I had as my top quarterback in the class. The only guy I had a first-round grade on. I had him 1. Then I had Ridder and Willis and Corral in the 3rd round, which they all went. And then I had Howell as an early 4th right behind them. I thought Howell was great value in the 5th round and didn't really like any quarterback outside of that. But, I think if people talk it's not a good quarterback class. I think Pickett's a starter. I think that Willis or Ridder or Corral, one of them is going to develop into a starter. I mean, how many – you don't get 2 starting quarterbacks in every class. So, it's crazy to say that. But I think 2 of them develop into starters in the league, which is good enough. Pittsburgh, you guys should be happy. Atlanta, you guys should be happy. Carolina, you guys should be happy. And Tennessee, I think they should be happy as well. I don't think anyone overdrafted a quarterback. I think they all got great value, and they're all in great spots.
So besides Darian Beavers, one value pick that you really liked in maybe a day 3 or even like a 3rd round pick, and one reach that was the biggest one in the draft for you.
The biggest reach in the draft, that's a good one. I'll start with reach because I think you have reaches early on in the draft. I didn't think so this year too much. In terms of reach picks, I would say, I think every Patriots draft pick, I'm going to just say Patriots class was a reach. You go top to bottom. They took like 2 running backs, Pierre Strong in the 4th round and Kevin Harris in the 6th. Thought both of them were reach picks. I thought Cole Strange in the 1st was a reach. I thought Tyquan Thornton in the 2nd was a reach. Marcus Jones in the 3rd, the Houston cornerback, wasn't necessarily a reach. But then they came back and they took Jack Jones in the 4th, the Arizona State cornerback, who I was stunned was going to get drafted. They took him in the 4th round. So they think this guy's could potentially be a starter. I did not see that. So I'm going to say the Patriots' entire class. Hard to choose a reach. I'll choose one for you Giants fans. Wan'Dale Robinson in the 2nd round was a wow reach. With George Pickens, Alec Pierce, Sky Moore on the board, you guys decide to take a receiver I thought would have gone to the 4th round if you didn't take him in the 2nd. I was stunned by that pick. It was like, the Cole Strange one shocked me. That one was a stunner as well. I thought those two were really big surprises. And then, I'll choose a guy, pick 32, Lewis C. And I think he's a top 5 player in the draft, the Georgia safety. Cowboys had him 13 on their board, so they weren't too off from where I have him. But I think he's going to be a Pro Bowl caliber player early on. I know he plays safety, but to get a guy like that at 32, when I thought that a team should have taken him in the top 20, and he's not that far off from Kyle Hamilton, the way he tested, running sub 4.4 with the best broad jump in the draft, awesome vertical. He's 6'2". I mean, if you put him and Kyle Hamilton's testing numbers next to each other, you say, holy cow, Lewis C's a way better athlete. And if you look at their instincts as well, Lewis's instincts are better. So, I think Hamilton's obviously the better player, but I don't think, Hamilton to me was the best player in the draft. Even after that 40 time, he's going to be, I think potentially the best safety, but I think Lewis C's going to be, up there with him and Derwin James and some of those other guys. So I thought that was good value at 32.
Well, Mr. Borowsky, we really appreciate you joining us. You're awesome. We definitely want to get you on as the season starts to get closer. We'll talk about OTAs and some of these young players and where you believe they're going to be this year as a rookie. You're very educated when it comes to the draft and figuring out who's going to be good and who's going to be not. Let's see what these players are going to be when the season starts and they step on a football field and have to compete against some of the best in the world. But as you know, we really appreciate it. Tell the fans how they can find you on social media.
Yep, you find me, Jack_Borowsky, Instagram, Twitter. Mostly post NFL draft content, NFL content in general. Yeah, they definitely appreciate you guys having me on. We'll see how these guys turn out. Obviously, the draft is just one piece of the puzzle.
Of course.
You can get great value, but, we'll see how these guys play on the field.
Thank you, Mr. Borowsky.
Appreciate it, guys.